Welcome to the Inside Out Institute podcast, where we bring you the principles of the HAMI method for permanent, rapid, and positive change. Our work is about transformation at the level where real change happens, beneath thought, beneath behavior, in the subconscious structures that quietly define who we think we are. Each episode takes you deeper into that process, offering frameworks, reflections, and real examples you can apply to your own life and work. So take a breath, settle in, and let's begin the journey inward, from inside out.
Welcome, everyone. I am truly honored that you've chosen to join me for this podcast, a conversation born from the wisdom of the HAMI method, a framework for permanent, positive, and rapid change. My name is Hami Safavi, and I am the creator of the HAMI method and the founder of the Inside Out Institute. What we will explore here isn't theory, it's lived practice, a way of seeing how architecture of your beliefs quietly organizes your life and how awareness can transform that architecture into peace, clarity, and flow. Today, we're going to talk about 4 simple, powerful movements that shape everything we experience: wishing, intention, attention, and gratitude. Each one carries a different frequency. Wishing looks outward and waits. Intention sets direction. Attention tends to what's being planted. And gratitude holds it all steady, confirming that creation is already at work. So, as you listen, I invite you to think of these 4 not as abstract ideas, but as living forces inside you, parts of the same creative process that turns every thought into form. So let's begin with wishing, or wishes. Wishing is a quiet habit most of us carry, often without realizing it, and we call it wishing. It sounds gentle, it even sounds caring, but beneath that sweetness lies a structure that quietly pushes peace and fulfillment somewhere else into a future that never quite arrives. So let's look at the deeper architecture of wishing, and then we'll contrast it with intention, attention, and gratitude. These words are not motivational slogans. They are precise states of consciousness that organize thought, energy, and choice. Each one carries a distinct frequency within the field of infinite possibilities and infinite probabilities, the field where all creation takes place. Back to wishing. Wishing is what I call the mind's declaration of lack. It's the thought that something or someone must change before your peace or happiness can arrive or can be lived as reality. It basically fixes your awareness on what is missing. So, to wish for money is to center your thoughts on not having money. To wish for happiness is to confirm that your happiness is absent. And as your mind repeats this loop, what is reinforced is actually lack. Wishing has a predictable inner structure. It begins with yearning, not with presence. The sentence on the surface is, I want this, but the energy underneath it is, I don't have this. So the desired reality is placed somewhere else, later in time, outside of you, as the author of your life. So the attention of the mind rests on gaps, on scarcity, on proof that hasn't arrived yet, on people who haven't changed, on outcomes that haven't yet appeared. Your nervous system stays in a constant search pattern. Your breath holds, your choice suspends, thought rehearses scarcity, and even gratitude, the very thing that could restore peace, postpones itself. In the language of the quantum field, observation matters. The quantum field is participatory, and wishing is observation from absence. The observer stands outside of what is desired and broadcasts the signal of not yet. That signal becomes an interference pattern of distance. The quantum field mirrors what is being held. And when awareness rests in absence, then ultimately your experience organizes around absence. That is the very core problem with wishing. It appears innocent, but it actually places your creative energy in exile. And because we're all so used to living in that state, we think we're being hopeful, when in reality, we're just reinforcing lack. So if wishing is the declaration of lack, what comes next? What replaces wishing as a creative act that's aligned with the intelligence of the universe is intention. So now let's turn toward intention. Intention is not effort. It is not willpower for striving. In Wayne Dyer's teaching, intention is a universal creative field, an invisible force that is always active and always creating. In lived practice, setting an intention means aligning your consciousness with that infinite creative field. It is the act of stating a clear inner direction and then releasing it. Nothing outside has to change before the intention is set. The inner setting is the change itself. Think of intention as direction stated clearly, a clean, honest sentence that names what is true to live. Once set, you release it. It's released. You don't monitor it. You don't check for proof. Because the moment you set your intention, you open the very architecture of experience to recognize itself in accordance with your intention. There are a few key things to remember about what intention is not. Intention is not wishing made louder. It's not, I want this with more passion or emphasis. Intention is not a bargain with outcomes. It doesn't say, if I do this, then that will happen. And it certainly isn't about correcting other people. Intention always sets a living direction in the self. So when you set an intention, you don't tell the universe what to do. You decide who you will be inside of whatever unfolds. If wishing keeps creation at a distance, intention draws it close because it places authorship back inside of you. And yet, setting intention alone isn't enough because once intention is set, it has to be carried. It needs to be lived, shaped, and maintained in motion. That movement that we are talking about comes through attention, and that is the active part of creation. So now let's turn our attention to attention, which is the living bridge. Attention is what the mind and heart do now. It is where awareness is placed, how thought proceeds, how planning is organized, and how movement occurs within the same field that holds your intention. If intention establishes the direction of creation, your attention is what keeps that creation alive. Attention is the living bridge between what you've set through intention and what you experience as life. Attention isn't passive observation. It's not waiting for something to happen. It's actually engagement. Engaging your mind, your heart, your body, all working in rhythm with the intention that you have just already released. Wayne Dyer described the 7 phases of where attention needs to be focused. What are those 7 phases? Creativity, kindness, love, beauty, expansion, abundance, and receptivity. Each of these becomes a phase of attention because attention is how you live and embody these qualities. So let's take the embodiment of each one by one. Creativity allows your own creativity to shine from within. Without focusing on outer circumstances, you keep your focus on creativity. The more creativity is you, the more creative you be. Next is kindness, choosing to be kind to yourself and then to others. Kindness is a choice to have the power of intention active in your life. Love. The energy field of intention is pure love, resulting in a nurturing and totally cooperative environment. Beauty. The face of beauty is always present, even when others see non-beauty, regardless of the circumstances in life. I am inviting you to hold these 7 faces of attention alive all of the time whenever you think about your intention. Next is expansion. The power of intention is the power to expand and increase all aspects of your life, no exceptions. So expansion then becomes the constant companion of where your attention is also focused. Next is unlimited abundance, infinite abundance. The 6th phase of intention has and knows no boundaries. It is everywhere at once and is endlessly abundant. And the last phase of attention is receptivity. No one and no thing is rejected by the receptive phase of attention and your intentionality. When all 7 of these qualities inform your attention, your present moment, when you think about the intention that you have set, something extraordinary happens. Attention becomes luminous, intelligent, self-correcting. Creativity keeps it fluid. Kindness keeps it gentle. Love keeps it unified. Beauty keeps it inspired. Expansion keeps it free. Abundance keeps it grateful. And receptivity keeps it wise. And then your life, every breath, every thought becomes an act of living as the field of intentionality and attention, rather than continuing to think about it and turning it over and asking, where is it? Where is it? Stay with the 7 faces of your attention. In this state, your attention ceases to be effortful. It becomes the movement of the creative source through you. Clarity, coherence, and full aliveness. So, your intention sets the direction, your attention carries it. And of course, there's still something that is needed to stabilize both, to hold them steady when the mind starts to wander or doubt. And that something is gratitude. So let's focus on gratitude as the stabilizer. Gratitude is not a reaction to good news. Gratitude is steady awareness that creation is already in motion. Gratitude confirms what is present and supportive now. In the quantum field language, gratitude is the stabilizing coherence that keeps intention and attention together and clear. When you live in gratitude, your mind stops scanning for absence. It stops measuring how far you are from some imagined completion. Gratitude recognizes the already present movement of life and intelligence. It quiets the impulse to measure, to compare, to control. The nervous system no longer needs proof to stay steady. So gratitude is never pretense. It doesn't deny what is present in the now. What is present in the now in the physical form is. And yet, gratitude, intention, and attention form one complete circuit. Intention focuses it. attention carries it, gratitude anchors it. When intention and attention move together inside gratitude, creation doesn't feel like strain. It feels natural, like something unfolding from within you, not something you have to push toward. Now, the outer world may take time to reflect that coherence, but the creative act has already happened at the level that matters the most. And that's what I want to illustrate for you in this metaphor to explain the process. The metaphor is a metaphor of a gardener or a farmer. And the intention here is to grow cucumbers. So first is the releasing. The releasing would be pulling the weeds, and that would be, in our metaphor, releasing the wishing, releasing the lack. Before anything can thrive, the garden must be cleared. Weeds are like wishing. They look harmless at first, soft, familiar, even hopeful, but they crowd the roots of what could grow. So here in our metaphor, wishing is the weed that steals nourishment from the soil of now. So the first act is release. Pull the weeds from the ground just like you release the wishing. Pull out the judgments that stare at the empty patch and call it a failure. Release the weeds and the judgments, not with anger, but with understanding. Just like the weeds were just plants in the wrong place, the same is true with your judgments and the absence of what has not yet manifested in your life. So now in our metaphor, let's focus on intention. Once the soil is cleared, intention arrives like a seed in your hand. You choose it deliberately. You name it clearly. The object of the intention is, I want a cucumber. You plant it once, deep enough that the wind cannot steal it, and you cover it with trust. Planting the seed of intention is not begging the soil to cooperate. It is saying to the creative field, this is what I choose to grow. You set it, you place it, and then you step back. That is the moment of alignment. The field hears you. The creation begins in the field of creativity, in this case, the ground. So now the attention comes in, watering, feeding, protecting. Now comes the daily practice, the rhythm of tending. Attention is watering on the days the soil is dry. Attention is feeding the earth with what keeps it alive. Time, effort, presence, consistency. You really never need to direct and control the earth, and how the infinite transformative powers of the earth must turn a seed to a delicious cucumber. You don't dig up the seed every morning to see if it's growing. You simply show up, trusting, measured, and steady. Attention is action aligned with intention. Every time you water, you're saying to the field, I remember what I planted. Every time you weed again, you're saying, I choose not to let lack return. You affirm your role as a gardener of your own creation. And now gratitude comes in. And then there is gratitude, the atmosphere of the whole garden. Gratitude is not waiting for the cucumber to appear before you say thank you. It is the trust that says the cucumber is coming because the seed was planted and the soil is designed to do its work. Gratitude walks the earth and feels joy in the unseen. It waters with appreciation, not with doubt. It lets the sun and rain to do their part. It knows that life unfolds in its rhythm, not ours. When you live in gratitude, you no longer ask, will it grow? You simply know it is growing. So this is the farmer's map, or the human map. The release first. The weeds of lack, they only feed absence. Release. Then plant the seed of intention. State clearly what you're choosing to grow. Then attention. You tend with attention. Act, nurture, protect without disturbance or doubt. And then live in gratitude. Trust the field, trust the process and the timing. If and when you follow that rhythm, creation becomes natural. You do not chase the harvest, you cultivate it. You do not plead with the soil, you partner with it. And when the day comes and you see the first round of cucumbers on the vine, you don't call it a miracle, you call it what it is, the inevitable expression of what was planted in trust and tended with love. Now, I would like to close this podcast with a personal story. Years ago, I had a loved one who struggled deeply with addiction. I wanted her to find her way to recovery, to seek therapy, to join a group, to heal. I tried every way I knew, encouragement, advice, resources, pleading. Nothing changed. Inside, my silent sentence was, when she becomes sober, then peace will come to me. Although that sentence was wrapped in love, its architecture was based in lack and scarcity. It placed peace somewhere into the future, in my loved one's hands, not mine. It basically said, until she changes, I cannot be at rest. Eventually, I began to practice what I now teach. My intention shifted. I was no longer for her to stop drinking. I was for her to live joyfully, lightly, happily, to shine in her own life, to thrive, shine like a sunshine. That was the seed I planted. And I released it into the field of quantum, trusting that the field knew how to grow it better than I ever could. Then came my attention, the daily tending of that intention. Every time I thought of her, every time I spoke with her, I held my attention through the 7 phases: creativity, kindness, love, beauty, expansion, abundance, and receptivity. Each of those became the way I watered my seed that I had planted. Creativity meant finding new ways to speak without controlling. Kindness meant keeping my heart open, even when the outcome was painful. Love meant staying connected without rescuing. Beauty meant noticing her light beneath the storm. Expansion meant holding peace for her journey without collapse. Abundance meant seeing what was already whole instead of what was missing. And receptivity meant listening for the quiet guidance of the quantum field instead of forcing the next step. Of course, in the same attention, I created boundaries. I stopped enabling the addiction. I told her lovingly and gently that I could only have a real relationship with her once she chose recovery. And then I held that boundary with steadiness, never with anger. For 5 years, her life unraveled. But like a patient gardener, I kept my hands in the soil of trust. I tended the field with those 7 qualities and refused to dig up the seed to see if it was growing. During that time, I stayed in gratitude, not for results, but for what was already real. I was gratitude for clarity, for strength, for peace that existed even in the waiting. I trusted the process I could not see. And as I have no words to describe how the earth turns a cucumber seed into a delicious fruit, I cannot explain how the infinite intelligence of the universe moved in her life, but it did. Through heartbreak and hardship, she eventually found her way to Alcoholics Anonymous. Even after sobriety, life wasn't suddenly easy. She still had to walk through her own pain, her childhood trauma, the remnants of abuse, the long, slow healing of self-worth. But my intention for her never changed. I saw her in that energetic force field as joyous, free, lightness, thriving, laughing, light on her feet, abundant, creative. I didn't push it. I just held it. The way a farmer trusts the unseen seed underground. Today, she has been sober for 18 years. Her life is radiant, more radiant than I could have imagined the day I planted the first intention. And when I look back, I see the path clearly. I released my wishing. I set the intention. I held the attention, and I anchored everything in gratitude. And my life has continued to expand as I have practiced this process in every area, not just in relationships, but in work, in health, in creativity. Each time I stayed true to the sequence, releasing wishing, setting intention, holding attention, and living as gratitude, the results always came, not through force or control, but through alignment with the infinite intelligence already at work. So, as we come to a close, I invite you to pause and gently look at your life. Where are you still wishing? Where does your mind whisper something like, when this changes, then I'll be at peace? I invite you to notice those places, not with judgment, but with awareness. See where your peace has been postponed to later. And now, I invite you to bring it back. Bring it to this moment, into your breath, into the field of what already is. Set your intention clearly, simply, as the seed of what you choose to experience. Direct your attention through your actions, your words, your daily choices toward nurturing that seed. And then let gratitude hold it steady, the knowing that the process is already in motion, that creation is already responding. That's how you move from wanting to living, from absence to authorship, from wishing to being, simply because when you live this way, consciously, intentionally, attentively, and gratefully, life doesn't have to be chased. Life unfolds through you, with you, and as you.
You've been listening to the Inside Out Institute podcast, exploring the power of the HAMI method for permanent, rapid, and positive change. If you'd like to go deeper, visit InsideOutInstitute.com to access courses, workshops, and personal coaching designed to help you live from clarity, wholeness, and authorship. Thank you for listening. And remember, transformation doesn't take time. It takes awareness. See you in the next episode.